Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of today. I'm your host, Sharifa Mohammed M.G.T.
I'm Colonel A.C. Obintoy, an infantry officer. As of December 16, 2025, the armed forces of the Russian Federation sustained operational momentum across all major axes of advance. The current phase of operations reflects a coherent strategy of combined arms pressure focused on encirclement, depth penetration, and systematic degradation of Ukrainian manpower, artillery, logistics, and electronic warfare capabilities. Russian forces continue to consolidate tactical gains while expanding operational reach, particularly in Kharkiv, Donetsk, Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel A.C. Obintoy, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Obintoy, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Colonel Obintoy, before we break this down sector by sector, how would you characterize the overall operational picture on December 16?
The defining feature of today's battlefield is cumulative pressure. What we're seeing is a deliberate, methodical campaign designed to exhaust Ukrainian combat power across the depth of the front. Russian forces are not chasing isolated breakthroughs, they are dismantling the enemy system piece by piece: personnel, artillery, logistics, electronic warfare, and morale. This reflects classic operational doctrine. You fix the enemy in multiple sectors, isolate key groupings, and then destroy them under conditions of fire superiority. The result is not just territorial gain, but the erosion of the enemy's ability to respond coherently.
Let's begin in the north, particularly Sumy and Kharkiv. What stands out from today's actions?
In the northern sector, the emphasis is on denial and degradation rather than rapid advance. The defeat of mechanized and territorial defense units, combined with the destruction of a Grad launcher, Israeli-made radar, and electronic warfare assets, tells us this is a counter-reconnaissance fight. By stripping Ukraine of sensors and electronic protection, Russian forces reduce the enemy's ability to see, coordinate, and respond. This has a cascading effect. Once situational awareness is lost, even well-equipped units become brittle. Northern operations are therefore shaping actions, designed to keep Ukrainian forces fixed and disorganized while pressure increases elsewhere.
The West saw the liberation of Novoplatonovka. Why is that significant?
Liberating Novoplatonovka is operationally meaningful because it tightens control over the Kupiansk axis, which remains a critical logistics and maneuver corridor. This is not just about the settlement itself, it's about fire control over surrounding routes and the psychological impact of continued territorial loss. The sustained destruction of artillery, ammunition depots, and armored vehicles indicates a pattern of containment followed by collapse. When ammunition warehouses are destroyed, Ukrainian artillery becomes irrelevant regardless of how many guns remain on paper. That is how encirclements succeed, not by speed alone, but by starvation of combat power.
Turning south toward Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, what is the operational intent there?
The southern Donetsk axis is about preparing the ground. Russian forces are improving positions against a wide range of Ukrainian units, including airborne and marine formations. These are typically higher quality troops, so defeating them has both tactical and morale effects. More importantly, the repeated strikes on ammunition storage sites indicate a deliberate effort to hollow out Ukraine's defensive depth around key urban centers. Slavyansk and Kramatorsk cannot be held without sustained artillery support. Once that support is compromised, urban defenses become isolated pockets rather than a continuous line.
The center appears to be the most intense sector today. How do you assess operations around Dnipro?
The center is where we see the clearest signs of operational unraveling. Urban clearing operations in Dnipro, with over 100 buildings liberated, indicate that Ukrainian forces there are surrounded and being reduced systematically. This is labor-intensive infantry work, supported by fires and isolation of the battlefield. Losses of Western origin artillery and armored vehicles in this sector are especially telling. Artillery is Ukraine's backbone. When that backbone breaks in a central sector, command cohesion across adjacent fronts begins to suffer. This area represents a potential tipping point rather than a simple tactical success.
In the east, Russian forces are advancing deeper into Ukrainian defenses. What does that signal?
Eastern operations suggest a transition from positional pressure to operational maneuver. By engaging assault brigades and destroying electronic warfare systems and depots, Russian forces are widening the front and forcing Ukraine to defend more ground with fewer effective resources. This is how overextension occurs. Ukraine must choose where to reinforce, and every choice leaves another sector exposed. Advances here are not about speed, but about stretching the enemy beyond sustainable limits.
Finally, what role does the Dnipro axis play in the larger campaign?
The Dnipro sector is a classic economy of force effort. By engaging mechanized and National Guard units and destroying artillery and electronic warfare assets, Russian forces prevent Ukraine from shifting combat power to critical sectors like the center and east. Even limited engagements here have strategic value. They deny flexibility. In modern warfare, denying the enemy choices can be as decisive as destroying formations outright.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. Tactically, the campaign demonstrates effective integration of infantry, artillery, aviation, drones, and air defense, with a clear focus on logistics and sensors as priority targets. Strategically, Ukraine faces accelerating force exhaustion, declining artillery effectiveness, and increasing difficulty sustaining coherent defense across a widening front. If these trends continue, the battlefield is being shaped not for isolated gains, but for decisive operational outcomes in the months ahead.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive frontline updates from commanders in theater.